Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Welcome to a brand new series. We're going to be doing a playthrough on Software Inc. today. It's a game that you create a software company, build it up from scratch, starting with nothing, and turn it into a huge company. Maybe you want to have a ton of employees or a ton of software or just a ton of money. A lot of people seem to have problems earning money in the game, especially in the early game, keeping their head above water and not going bankrupt. So we're going to show you how to start off the game and make a big chunk of money using the stock market. And on that note, let's start a new game. So give ourselves a name, set up a company name. Unorthodox sounds about right, since we're going to be doing kind of an unorthodox approach to this. You can pick your personality. Let's see, we're going to do stubborn and snob. And that'll change these settings down here. So we're pretty much a hard worker, independent and social. We're not going to have any employees, so that doesn't matter to us. Our guy doesn't care if he has people to talk to or if he has to work alone. It doesn't affect him pretty much at all in our playthrough. In yours, if you're going to have a bunch of employees, you might want to be more on the social side, or if you're going to do it kind of like a one-man challenge where you do everything with just your own character, you might want to be more on the independent side. Lazy and stressed, pretty much in the middle here. We're not super stressed. We don't get stressed out and stop working, and we're not lazy and trying to get out of work. Kind of just stay in the middle on that one. As far as skills go, since we're working alone, we don't need any leadership. We're not going to do much support at all. We're going to do very little artwork and crank down that program just a little bit. Most of our stuff is going to be in design at the get-go, because we're going to be doing some contracts, and that first stage of the contract is all design work, and then the second stage is programming. So we want those two to be the majority of our skills. And for this playthrough, we're going to do it on hard mode. We're going to do 1 day per month, starting in 1980. And starts us with $0, but we need some, so we're going to take the bare minimum $10,000 loan. As far as specialization goes, like I said, we're going to start with some contracts, and pretty much all the contracts have system design and system programming, so we're going to put 2 stars into that. Some of them require some 2D work, and some of them require some audio work, so we're going to put 1 star into each of those. That way we can do pretty much any contract that doesn't require like a level 2 2D designer or a level 2 audio programmer or something along those lines. As far as leadership goes, like I said, we're not going to have any employees, so it doesn't matter a whole lot, but multitasking will improve the effectiveness of development tasks, so that will help us with contracts, and the 3rd star would improve effectiveness of any task. So we're going to put 3 stars into that. We got 1 left. You can put it wherever you want. HR, let you handle complaints and salaries. Like I said, no employees, so we're not going to get any complaints or salary requests. We're not going to have a team, so it's boosting the team compatibility really doesn't matter at all. We'll put in automation just in case we want to do some project management down the road. And the last category, service. Like I said, we're going to use the stock market to make most of our money. We're not going to actually develop any software. We're going to get all our software from other companies. So it really doesn't matter. But in case we do need to do some support, we want to be able to file bug reports and handle 2 support tickets at a time. So we're going to put 2 stars into that. And that's pretty much all the setup. Next thing you want to do is you want to pick a map. Now, you could go and buy an empty plot for $50,000 and build your own building, but we're only starting with 10, so we can't afford that. As far as the buildings go, there's three choices. You can do a skyscraper. It costs $840 per month, and it's a little bit bigger area, but we don't need that big of an area. In fact, we don't even need as big an area as the apartment gives us. All we need is a garage. It's the smallest, it's the cheapest, it's more than enough. So go ahead and hit OK, and the moment we get into the game, we want to hit pause. And the reason we want to hit pause is our guy is not going to come in and start working until February. And if we let the game run, it'll kick over to February, turn night, and the game will fast forward because there's no one around, and we'll miss out on the opportunity to get some things done. So hit pause, and we're going to change some things. Now, under settings, options, you can pretty much leave this all default if you want, or change it how you want. The only thing I'm going to change is I'm going to get rid of office dangers. That turns off the burglars and fires in your building. You can leave that turned on. To be perfectly honest, it's just a matter of if you have enough money to replace whatever the burglars steal or whatever burns up in a fire. And we're going to have stupid amounts of money. Replacing it isn't an option or a problem. It just gets annoying. Next change we're going to make is under manage teams. Now, by default, our guy's in the core team, and they're set to work an 8-hour day from 8 a.m. until 1600 or 4 p.m. If we crank it up and have him work a 10-hour day, he'll work the full 10 hours. Crank it up to 11, he'll work about 10 and a half, and then he'll fall asleep at his desk. He'll basically just run out of energy, and that's fine. We're going to get every last minute of work out of our guy at the start. So if he wants to take a nap for that last half hour, then, he's probably deserved it. That's perfectly fine. And have him work an 11-hour day. Next thing we want to do is grab some contracts. Now, if we had let the game run and kick over to February, it would have got rid of these contracts and replaced them with new ones. So that's one of the reasons we wanted to pause it. We wanted to grab these and accept them. We have basically 1 month to get them done, but that 1 month time does not start ticking down until we actually start working on them. So we can accept all 4 of them, hit pause. We're going to start working on these the moment our guy gets in the morning, and that's when the timer starts ticking down. It's when he actually sits down at his desk and starts doing work. So the next thing we want to do is we want to build our little design or a development studio here, a little software company. We have this little space. We don't own these other rooms. We could rent this one here if we wanted, but we don't need it. All we need is this space here, the bare minimum, smallest amount that you can get. So we want to go into build mode, and now a lot of people will put 5 or 6 desks along one of the walls, and they'll put 5 or 6 computers, and they'll get it all decked out and ready for a staff of a couple programmers and a couple designers and a couple support staff, and they'll put in plants and water coolers and vending machines and get the environment all on the up and up, so the employees will be happy. Like I said, we're not going to have any employees. We're just going to work alone. And our guy doesn't care about the environment. He doesn't take coffee breaks. He doesn't take bathroom breaks. He doesn't go on vacation. He's basically a workaholic. He sits at his desk. He works all day until he falls asleep, and then he'll go home. So we're going to give him the cheapest desk we can buy. We're going to give him the cheapest chair. We're going to give him a trashy little computer and an inbox, which will boost his productivity. No pictures on the wall, no clocks, no plants, nothing else. We don't need a server, nothing like that. Just a desk, computer, inbox, and a chair. So we got it all set up. We have them set to work an 11-hour day. We've accepted contracts. We are ready to unpause the game, let it kick over to February, let our guy come in and start doing some work. We're going to kick it up to 3 speed. He's going to come in, he's going to get to work. He's cranking through the contracts, and we're going to pause it here. Now, this iteration 2 means we've got through the first iteration, and we're starting on the second one. And if this was software we were making for ourselves, we'd want to do a second, third, and even sometimes a fourth iteration to make sure that the quality of the software we create, that we send into development, the next stage, has the highest quality possible. That way we end up with a good product, a good quality product. It's popular. It doesn't have a lot of bugs, things like that. But for contract work, all we want to do is get through that first one. Once that kicks over to iteration 2, we can go ahead and send it to development. Likewise, once we're working through the programming, that blue line right there, that is as far as you need to develop it. The moment you get to that blue line, you can promote it. We don't need to even hunt for any bugs, and just finish it and get paid. Promote it, finish it, get paid. And then unlock those or unpause them, and we'll start working on those next. Now, like I said earlier, we would have missed out on those if we had let it run, because these new ones showed up for February, and we're going to accept all of them, and we're going to pause all of them while I have the game paused, so our guy doesn't start working on it, so the timer doesn't start ticking down on him. Now, eventually, we will run out of time to get them done if we just leave them paused forever. Like I said, the timer doesn't start ticking down, but eventually the company that we're doing the contract work for will want a finished product, so we do need to get them done eventually. But we will get to them because we're going to crank through them nice and quick. Go ahead and do 2 of them at a time, even 3 of them at a time if you want. Just make sure that you can get them done before they're due, before that timer gets down to nothing, because if you turn them in late, it takes money off what you're getting paid. So go ahead and do the next 2, crank through them, get to the end where it's kicking over to iteration 2, send them into development, develop up to the blue line, and finish, promote, finish. We got $50,000 in the bank. While I have it paused, go ahead and pay back that loan. We don't have that hanging over our head. And get back to work doing contracts. Now, it's getting near the end of the day, and as you can see, our dude fell asleep at his desk. He's kaput. He doesn't have any energy to do any more work today, and but that's fine. You know, we got every minute of work that we could possibly get out of him today, and if he wants to take a little nap, take a little nap. At 1800 he leaves. He'll come in the next day, get right back to work. Develop it. While I have it paused, I'm going to go ahead and grab all these. Now, another note on contracts. As you finish contracts, your business reputation will go up, and they'll start offering us contracts that are worth more money. Unfortunately, those contracts that are worth more money also take more time to get done. So we want to make sure that we always accept whatever cheap contracts they're offering us and build up a big old queue of them, because eventually they're going to stop offering us as many cheap ones, and they're only going to offer us the expensive ones. And you might think, you know, why don't you want to do the expensive ones or the valuable ones? Simply because they take so long to get done. You know, if a contract pays $16,000, it's likely that it'll take a day and a half or even 2 days to get done. And in that time, I can knock out like 8 of the ones that pay 8,000 each and make a lot more money. So stick to the cheap ones, skip the high value ones, and make as much money per day rather than per contract as you can. So I'm going to continue working on these, and I will bring you back in shortly. All right, welcome back. It's been a couple months in game. It is now December. We've worked through as many contracts as we possibly could each day, and we have $256,000 to our name. I finished up doing whatever cheap contracts I could do for the day. And there's still a little time left, so I'll probably start working on that one. That's just the cheapest one I can possibly get right now. But the reason I wanted to bring you back is because this is where we start working with the stock market to really make some big money. So 256 to our name. Let's take a look and see what software came out. Now, most software gets released in December, which is why I brought you back in December. You can see every December a big chunk of software gets released by other companies. And we want to take a look and see what came out December 1980, which is what is right now. Looks like these guys came out with a computer operating system. Let's take a look and see what their stock price looks like. 560. We only have 256, so we can't unfortunately afford to buy their stuff. Antivirus software came out, but one also came out back in May. It's only been about 6 months since an antivirus hit the market, so that probably won't sell too well, but we'll still take a look at it because we don't have a lot of money, so kind of our choices of what stock we're going to buy are limited. So we could afford to buy this, but let's take a look at our other options before we commit and buy their stock. So it's been a while since anyone came out with a 2D editor. It looks like there's 2 of them that came out this month. This one here looks like it has already sold 7,300 copies. This one only sold or 8,200, so this one is doing a little bit better. They're both good quality. I'll probably sell about equally well, but this one will probably sell a little bit better since it's already got kind of a head start. Maybe it was marketed a little bit better, or maybe they have a little bit bigger fan base. Either way, that one will probably sell a little bit better. So let's take a look and see what their stock price looks like. Oop. Oh, they're cheap. So we're going to buy all their stock. Leaves us with 31,000. Let's see, nothing else really came out. There was an audio tool that came out. Yeah, we can't afford that right now. And we're just going to hang on to that. We own, like I said, 4 shares in that company. And we're going to go back to working on a little bit of contract work just to finish up the day. Maybe make a little more money before it kicks over into the new year. So go ahead and crank through this. Oh God, this is going to take so long. Definitely going to take to the end of the day to get this one done. In fact, it'll take most of tomorrow as well, probably. Ooh, be a rough one. Yeah, he fell asleep. And he goes home, kicks over to the next day. He comes in, he starts working. We got to iteration 2, send it into development, and crank through the rest of this. I don't want to get too far into the day. And promote and finish. Now, this company that we bought stock in, their stock price went up 63% since we bought it yesterday. So that's a good increase. Not huge, but decent. And they also paid us $2,865 as a dividend payment because we own their stock, and they did that for each share that we own. So since we own 4 shares of their stock, they paid us $2,865 4 times, which is basically $10,000. So it's like someone came in overnight and did a contract for us for free and paid, and made us some money. So we have a little bit more money in the bank now. And there's a couple cheap ones here that we can accept and do. We may be able to kick through or get through them before the end of the day. We will see. We'll get to work and get to the end and send them into development. Might just... Nope, he fell asleep. We'll let him finish up the next morning. So he'll come in, he'll get to work, crank those out, finish them up, crank that to the blue line, finish. Let's check on our stocks again. Oh, we're up to 130% increase since we bought it, and they paid us $5,600 for each share. So $24,000 paid overnight. Basically, like I said, that's like someone came in and did 3 contracts overnight, and that doesn't even include the increase in the value of the shares themselves. So stocks definitely can make us a lot of money. We have 92,000 now, which is took us about 6 months to make that amount of money doing contracts. So, like I said, stocks definitely big money maker, especially in the early game when you don't have a lot. You can really multiply your money, grow your nest egg, get that get you ready to where you can hire staff and start developing software and move into a bigger building and not have to worry about, oh, can I afford the rent this month? Or, can I afford to pay my employees? Stay out of bankruptcy. Stocks are the way to go. In fact, it's February. We own some stocks. We got a little money in the bank. Our guy's been working hard, and I think he's ready to retire. So we're going to go ahead and send him home. We're going to take all his office furniture and his computer and everything. We're going to sell it, and we're going to cut his hours. And he's been working hard. He deserves a break. We'll have him work 1 hour a day. Come in for 1 hour, and then go home. In fact, since he doesn't even have a computer, he won't even come into the office anymore. He'll just come around back and sit at the picnic table for an hour and then go back home. Since we don't have any computer equipment, we don't have to worry about calling, hiring or calling any IT support. We don't have to worry about it. He's not even going to come in the building, so we don't need to hire a cleaner. No maintenance, because there's nothing left in here. We didn't even have a light bulb that needed to be changed or anything like that. So let's kick this into 3-speed, let it run. Like I said, he'll come in next morning, he'll go to the picnic table, sit there for an hour, gets back on the bus, goes home. It's a hard life. Working, coming into the office every day, taking the bus home every day. I don't know how he does it. 7 days a week. Well, not 7 days a week. 1 day a month, actually. He's got it pretty easy. So let him continue doing this for a couple more months until we get to December or September now. I'll come in for October, no snow yet on the ground, so even though it's October, November, no snow. And December. And let's hit pause. Let's check on how our stock did now. We're at $602 or $602,000. So if you remember that first year doing contracts, we worked 11-hour days. We busted our butt. We did as many contracts as we could, and we ended up with like $250,000 sitting on the picnic table for 1 hour a day. Made us about 550. So it's a little more profitable to invest in the stock market than it is to do contracts. In addition to that, we own those shares, and they've gone up 1,207%. So once we sell those shares, we now suddenly have $3.5 million. The end of 1 year, or an end of the second year, 3.5 million. Some people that play this game don't even have that by the end of like 1989. We've done it in the first 2 years. So, and it is December, so a bunch of new software probably came out. Yep, looks like it did. Looks like a couple operating systems, some Office software, a 2D editor, all that came out. Looks like some Office software came out back in November too. Let's take a look and see what we can buy for the next stock. So there's 2 operating systems, both for console. They came out in December. This one is great, and that one is great, but it looks like this one's already sold 4,000 copies. That's only sold 1920. This one is probably going to be doing much better, so let's take a look and see what their stock price is like. Take a look at their details. 58,000 for their stock. We'll go ahead and buy that. I'll set that aside. This one, let's see what their price is like. They're pretty cheap, but before we go and buy in, since we already own an operating system software stock, we're going to hold off on that until we look at our other options. So Office software, like I said, one came out in November. It sold 153,000 copies already. That one was good quality. This one that came out this month in December is also good quality. But these guys have a head start. They'll probably continue to sell well, and this one will probably not sell real well, so we're not even going to look at their price. There's probably not going to be a lot of profit in it. We will look at that 2D editor, see what their stock price is like. That's cheap, so let's buy all of their shares and set that aside. Game software. Games sell a bit differently than, say, operating systems, Office software, 2D editors, 3D editors, antivirus, things like that. Games pretty much are like a flash in the pan. They sell really, really well for a month or two, and then their sales just die off. And because the sales don't last very long, they're real short-lived, their stock price doesn't go up a whole lot, and then they're released very often. You know, the game software companies, they might release 2 or 3 games each year, and there's not a lot of time between each release, so the stock price doesn't fall a lot, and then the sales don't last long, so it doesn't go up a lot. So you don't see a lot of profit investing in game software companies. So I would stick to operating system if it's available. If that's not available, 2D editors, antivirus, Office software, and then later on in the game, phone operating systems and 3D editors get unlocked and people start making those, and those are good investments as well. But for the time being, especially in the early game, I would recommend just stay away from investing in game software. We do have $3 million left. Like I said, this one is an operating system. We already own an operating system stock, but since it is so cheap and we have a whole bunch of money, we will invest in it, set it aside, and we're just going to keep it open so we can watch it and see if it actually goes up in value, or if this one ends up being the big seller. So take it off a pause, kick it into high gear, let our guy go home for the day. It's going to kick over. Their stock price did go up, and they did pay us some dividends. So it looks like that did sell well. Just to compare it, this one went up much more, and they also paid us more dividends, but they're both profitable at this point. So we're going to hang on to them for right now. We'll leave this one open and just keep an eye on that number, that percentage number. If it starts dropping off, if they're not selling as much, then we will sell it. But take it off a pause, let it run, let our guy come in for an hour each day, and like I said, just keep an eye on that stock and make sure that we continue to make money on it. One way you can tell that the sales are dwindling is if that payout number starts going down, and you can see it did go down. It dropped down to 0. It's up 341%. Payout is 0. Probably the next month, that number, that growth amount, will start falling off. So right now it's probably the peak price. We're going to go ahead and sell it and get out of that deal. That one is still doing good, and they're still paying a fair amount of dividend. This one's gone up in price and is still paying dividends, so we're going to hang on to those. Take it off a pause, let our guy come in 1 hour each day, and let it run until December again. Alright, so it is now November. Let him go home, let it kick over to December. He's going to come in and sit on the picnic table even in the cold weather. And as you can now see, we have $8.6 million in the bank. Most of that was from dividends. Some of it was from selling that stock early, that other operating system software, but we still own stock in this. This was the 2D editor, went up 2100%, and they paid us dividends the entire year. So we can now sell that off. And the other operating system went up 1891%, and they paid us dividends the entire year. We can go ahead and sell that off, which now means we have close to $20 million. End of the third year, 1982, $20 million to our name. At this point, we could easily afford to move into a bigger building and hire staff, and start making software of our own, or whatever you want to do, however you want to play the game. We're going to, as far as this playthrough, we're going to stick to stocks for a couple more years and just see how far we can take this thing. See how ridiculous we can get that income in, say, the first 10 years. Let's go up until 1990 and see what we can get that number up to. So let's see, December 1982, we had a bunch of software come out as normal. Looks like one operating system. Let's take a look at their price. We can definitely afford that, so we'll buy all their shares. Looks like a couple audio tools came out. one from Fly, one from Time Blade. Looks like Fly is going to be the one that sells a little bit better. They're quite great quality, whereas the one from Time Blade Studio is only good quality, so we'll invest in the great one. That'll end up probably being a lot more profitable. Games, as we discussed, we're going to skip those. Looks like there was a 2D editor that came out. So we can go ahead and buy their shares. More games. This antivirus software came out back in October, so we've missed out on a little bit of chance. But there's another one that came out back in May, and they're kind of cannibalize each other's sales. Neither of them will do extremely well because there's two of them released too close to each other. So we'll skip that for now. We'll stick to these three. I got $16 million left. Rather than just let it sit up there in the wallet, we're going to take $15 million and we're going to put it in our bank account, deposit that in, so at least it starts earning interest instead of just sitting there doing no good. 1.6, definitely enough to pay our rent on this little space, even though we don't have anything in it. You know, and give us a little walking around money. We can definitely afford to go to the bar and buy our buddies a beer or two over the course of the year. So I will take this off pause and let it run and let our guy continue to come in for 1 hour a day, and I will bring you guys back when we get to December again. Alright, so I brought you back in June a little bit early because I noticed that that 2D editor that we bought stock in, I don't know what happened, but their sales must have fallen off a little bit quicker, and they started losing money. So we're going to get out of that deal. We're going to sell their stock. No sense hanging on to it and losing anything more. These guys still doing well. We'll just let the game run, and like I said, bring it back in December. Alright, so it is now December 1983, end of the 4th year. Check in on our stocks. This one's gone up 213%, so it's basically worth 3 times what we initially paid for it. We'll go ahead and sell that off. This one has gone up 881%, almost 10 times what we initially paid for it. We can go ahead and sell that one off. That's another $10 million. That's on top of the $15 million that we already had in the bank. So basically, at the end of the 4th year, we're sitting on $25 million. And it being December, we can go ahead and check and see what new software came out. Now, these computer operating system, those are the big money makers. So this should be a very good year. Their stock price is very cheap right now for an operating system, a computer operating system company. A lot of times they're in the millions, so the fact that it's only $247,000 per share right now means that's probably going to be a huge, huge money maker over the course of this year. So there was an audio tool that came out, and it's been a whole year since one hit the market, so this one will sell pretty well probably. And their shares are super cheap, which is good to see. Games will skip. 2D editor. Yeah. We'll take a look at that. No, cheap. They're very cheap too, so we'll probably see a good profit on that. There was an antivirus that came out, actually two antivirus that came out back in November. We might have done okay if only one came out and we bought it back in November, or even if we bought it in December for that fact. But the fact that there was two of them, we might be able to, we could invest in this one, which is selling about twice as many, and it's a great quality instead of a good quality. But since they both came out the same month, there's two of them, they kind of cannibalize each other's sales. They probably will turn a profit. In fact, they already have turned a small profit, but their stock price probably won't go up a whole lot. And that is all the software that came out recently. So we own shares in Alpha Inc., Betasoft Reach, Drive Monday Studio. Let's go ahead and let it run. Actually, before we turn it on and let it run, we're going to take another $5 million and put that into our bank account and let it start earning interest for us. So it's January now. Looks like they're all going up in value and they're all paying us dividend. We'll let it run through the year, bring you back in December, see where we stand. We are now in December 1984. $5 million in our wallet. Most of that, about $2 million of that, was from dividends this past year. For the 2D editor, I believe it was, their stock price went up 1,888%. So it's about 19 times what we initially paid for it. We can sell that off. I forget what this one was, but it's up 800%, so honestly, who cares what it was? It made us money. The operating system one, that went up 1,000%. 1,000%. So it's basically worth 11 times what we initially paid for it. So after selling those off, we now have $25 million in our wallet, and that is in addition to the $20 million that we have in our bank account earning interest. And on that note, folks, this video is running really long, so we're going to cut this one off here, and we'll pick up in 1984 in the next video.